In the Edo period in Japan, did human waste turn into money? Did burned out ashes also become valuable? Even the paper used in toilets was worth something? In that era, the concept of waste did not exist. Let's explore together the eco-friendly practices of Edo period Japan in this video. Around the 1700s, in the Western world, sewage systems were already developed. However, untreated sewage was still discharged directly into rivers and seas, causing unpleasant odors in urban areas. How was it in Japan during the same period of the Edo era? Of course, in the Edo era, Japan did not have flush toilets. Instead, they used pit toilets, where feces and urine were collected in containers placed beneath the location where they fell. Accumulated waste was regularly transported by collection service providers from each household's toilet to farms. This was because in the Edo era, farms reused feces and urine as fertilizer for crops. So, farmers gladly purchased feces and urine from collection service providers in exchange for money or vegetables. The feces and urine spread on crops were organically decomposed by soil microorganisms over time, reducing the odor. Therefore, despite the high population in urban areas, there were no issues with unpleasant smells. The feces and urine of samurai and feudal lords, who had a high-quality diet, held brand value as fertilizer and were traded at high prices. The paper used during defecation was called asakusa paper and was recycled paper. After use, individuals stored asakusa paper because its value as fertilizer decreased when it's mixed with feces and urine. Later, the used paper was purchased by waste paper processing companies and reused. In summary, during the Edo era in Japan, there was no need to dispose of feces and urine into rivers or pay to have them removed. Even the poor could sell feces and urine to collection service providers and sell used paper to waste paper dealers. Collection service providers sold feces and urine to farmers, while waste paper dealers recycled collected paper, creating a sustainable business. Farmers who purchased feces and urine as fertilizer were able to cultivate nutrient-rich crops, which they could sell. Thus, during the Edo era in Japan, many businesses thrived solely on waste products. Now, let's move on to the clothing of the Edo era. Clothing during the Edo era was designed to produce no waste. Unlike Western clothing tailored to fit body sizes, kimonos could be adjusted in size based on how they were worn. Consequently, kimonos were made to be worn continuously as children grew into adults. Even if people wore the same kimono, they could enjoy fashion by combining different obis and accessories for various looks. In the Edo era, Japan had laws promoting frugality by prohibiting luxury. Despite the inability to own numerous kimonos, people still found ways to enjoy fashion through creativity. What did they do with kimonos that had become worn or frayed after years of use? In such cases, they were reused as baby diapers, cleaning cloths, sleepwear, and sandal thongs. Once these recycled items became unusable, there was a system in place for further recycling during. At a time when petroleum was unavailable, these items were used as tools for igniting fires, such as kindling for stoves and bath furnaces. Later, even when they burned down to ashes, they still had value. Ashes were bought by collectors, and in agriculture, they served as fertilizer, while in sake brewing, they aided the growth of koji mold. Additionally, ashes were used as glaze for pottery and as dye for kimonos after being recycled. Finally, let's take a look at the recycling businesses that could be considered the foundation of Edo period eco-friendly practices. During the Edo period, numerous recycling businesses existed, and it is said that their efforts contributed to the absence of the concept of waste in the streets of Edo. In this segment, we will introduce a few of these businesses. The first one is the purchasing business for night soil, which was also introduced in the section on excrement. Thanks to their collection services, there was no need to dispose of human waste into the river. It was a surprising system where not only could they come to your home for collection, but you would also receive money for it. The second one is the purchasing business for ashes, which was also introduced in the kimono section. Can you imagine that burned out ashes could be reused and even turned into money? In the Edo period, alkaline ashes were used for various purposes, such as fertilizer, decolorizing kimonos, and even as a detergent. By the way, the ash purchasing merchants, who were always collecting ashes, had faces that appeared completely white, and their hair was also white, making them look like elderly individuals even from a distance. The third one is, similarly to the second, the purchasing business for paper waste introduced in the kimono section. In the Edo period, paper was considered a valuable commodity. That's why these merchants, carrying a balance pole, would go from house to house, weighing and purchasing used or unwanted paper. Of course, paper used in toilets was also recyclable. In addition to purchasing, they would collect garbage scattered in the streets and sell it to paper recycling merchants. The collected paper was sorted and recycled based on the degree of contamination. The technology used for paper recycling was known as remade paper. Do you vacuum up fallen hair on the floor, throw it in the trash, or perhaps leave it? In the Edo period, even shed hair was a target for recycling. Collected hair was used to create wig or as supplemental hair. These were utilized in rituals by upper-class women. Even old umbrellas were recycled by specialized merchants. Umbrellas during the Edo period were crafted by attaching paper to bamboo frames. These merchants would buy worn-out umbrellas, repair the bamboo frames, and replace the paper, and recycled them to a condition to look as good as new. During this process, they would carefully remove the paper from the old umbrellas and recycle it as wrapping paper for pickles or fish. The thoroughness in recycling everything usable is quite impressive, isn't it? By the way, around this time, Mitsukoshi started a free umbrella rental service. The logo printed on the umbrellas proved to be effective for promotional purposes. In the Edo period, there was a tool called chokin, which used paper similar to an umbrella. It was akin to a modern-day flashlight. Since it covered a candle flame with shoji paper, tearing occasionally occurred during use. Besides replacing the torn paper, services were also provided to rewrite shop names on these paper coverings. How do you handle broken plates and dishes? In the Edo period, items known as setomano were not discarded even if they were broken. This was because there were artisans skilled in a technique called yakutsugi for repairing them. Initially, these artisans applied a powder called shiratamako, which is a lead glass powder, to the fractured edges of the broken dish. Subsequently, by heating the applied shiratamako, they melted it, effectively bonding the pieces together. Due to the excellence of this repair technique, it is said that some merchants found it challenging to sell new setomano items. The pots and kettles used during the Edo period were made of cast iron. During the manufacturing process of these pots and kettles, the formation of voids often led to the occurrence of holes and breakages. However, as these items were considered precious at the time, replacing or discarding them wasn't an easy option. Artisans known as ukiyo-e, possessing specialized skills, used a tool called a fuigo to blow air onto charcoal heated to high temperatures. They employed this method to weld the damaged portions, addressing the frequent breakages. How was it? In this video, I've shared information about eco-friendly practices during the Edo period. If you enjoyed this video, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.